guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Monday morning. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Monday morning, guys. It's still early. Well, for me it is. Still waiting on my coffee to kick in, honey. So I got a word for you guys. I'm going to share this with you. Now, this is not for everyone. In fact, no word ever is. Take it back to God, right? But this is for the individuals who did not give up. There's a lot of people who gave up, respectfully, right? Listen, you know yourself, this thing is woo, right? So, but you did not give up. You have done everything or most things that God has required of you along the journey. You have been battling warfare, but you stood. You took all kind of hits, but you stood and you kept pressing. Even with frustration, even with thoughts of giving up, you didn't. You didn't. This word is for you guys. Remember, the enemy is very, 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 all caps, very strategic, right? He does certain things, and I don't even realize it at the time until I guess I get plugged back in, and then God's bring it to my attention, and I'm like, you little no edge son of a gun. He is so sneaky because you have stood in this process, because you've been in the wilderness, and God have like conditioned you with so many things. Never, ever, 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 ever think that you are strong enough to stay unplugged without the enemy somehow creeping in there. Because see, it's almost like you would tend to think that the enemy will sneak in when you're somehow sinning or you're out of alignment, etc., etc. He can sneak in, even when it's something that you yourself deem to be something good, or even something that may be related to your alignment. He can still get in the areas that you think is not something that's bad. See, the whole course right now is to stay, well, his whole course, I guess, is to get you distracted, right? At any means necessary. He needs you to be distracted. So he will do whatever to get you distracted. That can look like you helping somebody else, which typically that's what we do, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. God wants us to help people. But when it's coming to the point that that particular thing and that particular person is causing you to be tied up in something all day to the point that you're unplugged. Because sometimes you're unplugged and you don't even realize it. And then you're like, wait a minute, hold up. And then God reveals it to you like you went a whole day without doing this, that, and the third. You were unplugged. So you didn't sin. You did a good thing. But you're distracted. For a group of you, tunnel vision is a must right now. Because some of you are so close to the promise, so close to the open door, that the enemy is now going to use good things to distract you where you're not properly plugged in to hear your downloads, to receive revelation, most importantly right now to receive insight. Many of you already know the promise. It is. I mean, God have really certified and stamped that thing for you very recently. That is almost like, listen, there's no more questions. Don't ask me about it again. It is, period, right? So God have already stamped that thing for you. So now it's about insight more than anything. The insight on what you have to do to set certain things up. The insight on who you have to bless when it's released. The insight of just being a vessel. The insights on why your delay was so long. The insights on certain things are still not ready because of X, Y, and Z. The insights on you need to war against that, be on guard against this. The insight of staying focus. If this time don't call for anything else, it calls for solitude. If you think you're lonely now, wait until tonight. Kizzy, Lord, please forgive me. Because, y'all, it's Monday. I'm just trying to. If you think you're lonely now, honey, wait until tonight. Let me just tell you, the closer you get to the promise, you talking about having to be lonely? Like, it's a must. You may be married and you're still kind of like, you're in like this place of just, I can't even explain it. Like, you're not alone, but you're alone, if that makes sense. Like, you can have people around you, but there are certain times in the journey that you got to be so connected and so plugged in, because you got to receive every single insight and download. And God is giving it out, honey. Like, I don't know. I mean, he's giving out major insights. I don't know if it's because so many people are unplugged and they've just given up, that he's finding the ones that are willing, that he's just boom, 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 boom. Like, he's giving out insight left to right. And here the enemy has come right on in and have you doing a good thing. Oh, I think you should go and serve the homeless tomorrow. And you're like, yes, honey. Let's go serve these homeless people, because God have been good to me. Let's go back and serve the homeless. That's a great thing. I encourage everybody to do that, right? But is that what God needs you to do right now, this second? Now, if you heard from God to do it, then please go do it, because there's probably a blessing within that process. You're going to meet somebody who's going to give you some type of confirmation, or most importantly, they'll just see the light of God in you. But if you didn't hear that from God, the enemy will beat you upside the head like, but you love God, but you won't even go and feed these homeless people. And you're like, oh my goodness, do I go? Do I not go? Do I go? Do I not go? Now your mind is all over the place, feeling all condemned. And God didn't even tell you to go feed these homeless people today, right? Maybe tomorrow, but not today, because I need you to be so connected. Now, your whole day is filled with toil in your mind. How can you get a download like that? Another thing the enemy is doing. I think I said something on one of the community posts, or maybe I commented to one of you guys. God have given you a clear answer about something. See, God only needs to speak one time. Your spirit have to receive that thing and catch it and lock in it, right? God only have to give you a download one time. Now, he's so good because he knows we're just as crazy as a bat, that he keeps confirming it through 1,000 things and 1,000 people. But God only has to speak one time. When he speaks, your spirit is settled on that thing. I'm not speaking about your triggers and your traumas. Your spirit is settled. It's something about when God gives, and I know this, somebody emailed me. I forgot how she said it. She said, Kizzy, I just wish I was as confident as you are when I receive my downloads. She was basically saying when she receives the downloads, it's almost like the enemy will come and confuse it. And is that God? Is it not God? Is it God? Is it not God? Is it God? See, this is why it's crucial for you to learn how to hear from God yourself. Because if you're watching 30,000 people, each person going to have a different word. Because many times, if people are not careful, they're giving you a download that was specifically for them. Like, there's times I get downloads for myself, but then I get a conviction to share something completely different that has nothing to do with the download I received for myself. And then there's many times, like today, where the conviction is for me, right? And then I share it with you guys. It is crucial to hear from God yourself. We all can hear from God. The issue is most people aren't disciplined enough and willing to sit still. A lot of people are ignorant to the fact, right? Everybody didn't grow up in church. I didn't. I mean, granted, we went to church, but we didn't grow up like some people go to church 3 days a week and like they know that Bible inside out. They went to Bible study if that's not your life, that's not the only way you hear from God. Please don't let religion have you to think that. Because you got people who've been in church all their lives and never, ever, ever, ever have had an encounter with God. It's a personal relationship. That's why I don't listen. Well, I guess people know at this point, they don't even come and bother me anymore. Right? Don't come and tell me nothing about, right? I'm listening to jazz music, honey. I'm listening to Frankie Beverly and Mays, honey. Right? I'm showing these legs. You gonna see these legs, point blank, period. Because it has nothing to do with no darn uniform. It's about a relationship with God. If my legs trigger you, you're the problem. That means you're not disciplined, but you're gonna see these legs, point blank, period. So anyway, Kizzy, get back on it. You gotta be so connected right now that if there's anybody even calling you and they're needing you, and my God, you might be struggling with this thing because you're the person who you just can't write. There's no way in the world you came this far just to miss it because of a lack of discipline. You know what? I jumped forward just now. You got to be so disciplined that you hear from God yourself. Now, granted, God will use people to confirm and sometimes even give you a word, right? Because especially if you're in a season where you're really struggling and your spirit is very low, you might be depressed, etc., etc. Sometimes it's really hard to hear from God. God is speaking to you. Unless he went silent on you because of something you did or whatever, and you haven't repented in that thing yet. But I've had a season like that where you're so low spiritually you can't even hear from God. So yes, I do believe God will use people to give you a word, etc., etc. But it's still your job to take that thing back to God. So here's the problem. Let it be that you heard from God yourself, or if someone came and gave you the word, however you got that download. When you received it, there was something in your spirit that was settled and at peace. This is why I always say when you're struggling, right, when you're in different seasons and you're feeling like you're confused, is it God? Is it familiar spirit? If it's God, always go back to the original download when you felt that thing at peace and settled in your spirit. When you received it, it was never a question mark when you receive it. Even if it was a question mark 5 minutes later, when you got the download, there was something in your spirit that just, it was settled. It felt like home. It felt like you just know. It's the feeling. You just know. But yes, the enemy will come right behind God and start throwing certain things in your head. And now you're questioning, I don't know if that was God or not. What did your spirit say to you when you first received the download? When you first received the answer? When you first got even if it was 23 years ago, when you first got the original download, did your spirit feel settled? When you were around the person, did your spirit feel settled? When God gave you the download about how he's going to bless you, and he starts pinging off to you different people, different environments where he needs you to be, or he needs you to bless, or he needs you to be a destiny helper, when he ping these people off in your spirit, did it all feel in alignment? Did your spirit feels, even if it's not here yet, your spirit won't lie to you. Your triggers and your trauma will lie to you. Your spirit will not lie to you. So a lot of people right now is literally in the on a merry-go-round, like meaning you're stuck. You can't go back and you can't go a step forward. You're just right there spinning. Listen, that ride at the fair, you know, the one that just spins and go backwards and play music, that just popped up in my head. But you're stuck right there, all because you can't decipher Is it God? Is it familiar spirit? Is it God? Is it my flesh? Is it God? Is it my trauma? Is it? You're stuck. When did your spirit feel settled about it? And I'll tell you this, if your spirit never ever felt settled about something, then that wasn't God. I'm not even speaking about your anxiety. I'm speaking about the original download. You know, that's coming back to my mind. I posted this on the community page. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I don't know. I said something in reference to, because this was all me right here, right? You often hear people say, and I hear it a lot. I've heard it a lot, I should say, that when you feel anxiety, when you feel hastiness in your spirit, that's not God. Now remember, I'm a perspective thinker, so I can understand fully on what they're saying. But if you're not a perspective thinker, and if you go based on everything that everybody says to you, you're going to miss God. You're going to miss many blessings like that. So when you hear something, take it back to God. If you're not even if you are, still take it back to God, because God will help break it down for you. All right, so I'm a person who, I struggle with anxiety at times, right? And let me tell you something. Whatever your stuff is, because we all have something, right? Some people's depression, some it's anxiety, some it's OCD, some it's addictions, etc., etc. Okay, so anxiety is let me take that back. I used to struggle with anxiety, but I was always good for making it work for me as well, because it keeps you, what's the word I'm looking for? It keeps you persistent. It's almost like, but the problem with that is you get ahead of God. So it's not that you're on the wrong track. It's not that you didn't hear from God. You heard from God because your spirit was settled when you heard it, when you felt it. That's God. It's you when now your anxiety is, I'm raising my hand here, no longer though, and you get ahead of God. So now when you go back to wise counsel and you say something like, but I did this and I didn't see it happening yet. But I know I heard God and I went and I just don't understand, because I know I heard God. But when I got there, I just didn't see it. Open door. You're getting ahead of God. So it's not that it wasn't God. You just got to chill. Relax. Ooh, God had the time with me with that. But honey, when you already got ahead of God too many times, and you realize that all you're doing is spinning your wheels and watering that grass, one too many times, you will sit still. And then that's when God moves. But please, if you know that you know that you know that you know, please don't let anybody, and I mean absolutely anybody, tell you that that was not God. They can't feel in your spirit what you can feel. They can give you an answer based on encounters that they themselves have experienced in the past. They can give you counsel based on what they feel in their spirit at the time. And mind you, even these individuals they're dealing with their own battles and warfare. So nobody's going to really protect that word like you, because it's in you. You got it. And they could very, very well mean well, but they could be struggling with something internally themselves. They're fighting their own battle. So they don't have time to really meditate on that thing the way you can and really fast against. Like, that's you. You got to do that. And I'm sure they could, because I had a couple of times that happened when people gave me like a solid word, right? But I'm trying to make a point here. You can't depend on people, especially right now, because some of you, raising my hand here, have promises that God told you from the jump to do not open your mouth about. And you could have get that revelation years ago. But he told you specifically, Don't open your mouth about it. And now what is the enemy doing? Because things are so close, right? Again, he's stirring up the pot. He's even starting to tempt you to tell you to go and speak about it. Making it seem like it's God. Oh, well, you're close, so go and tell this person. Oh, I'm going to use this person, so go and ask them. No. You will know when that time comes. You will know, because with some of these things, you're going to have a person or persons, right? But God will make it the same peace that you felt when you got the original download will be the same peace that you feel when God says, okay, now it's time to go in X, Y, and Z. Now, this is a perfect example when it's not God because of hastiness. Now, okay, let's say God has not given you the okay to go and ask somebody for wise counsel in this area, right? God, that's going to come, but it's not come yet. But now there's something in your spirit that's pressing you to say, no, go ask this person, go ask this person. It's time, go ask this person. Now that's hastiness that's not of God. So you see how tricky it can be? You got to be so tapped in. When it's a pressing feeling of rushing against something that God told you not to do yet, if ever, that's the enemy being very cunning. But not when God is giving you a download and he says, okay, this is that, but I just showed it to you because I don't want you to go AWOL somewhere. I just showed it to you because I know you got a habit of going and getting your hand mixed up in other things. I showed it to you because it's going to get difficult in this process, but if I give you the revelation clear as day, this is going to help you to stay on the path. But don't move on this thing until I come back and get you. 30 seconds later. 30 seconds later, you're going to beat the door down because God said it's there. God said it's there. You're going to be, no, but God told you don't move yet. Now that's you right there, right? That's you. And now when you get there and you're beating on these people's doors and you're trying to get this application or whatever you're doing and you're trying to, God said, and now you're there and you're looking for God and God is not there. And now you're like, but God, where you at? And now the enemy's telling you that was never God. Yes, it was God, but you're ahead of God. God told you don't move, but you can't sit still. And now you get where you're going and you think God ain't even there. And now you're going back home crying like, well, I thought God said. But God told you to be still. He'll come back and get you. He got things he got to do on the other side. You ain't God. So you go back and you sit. And now you're mad because you're in the wilderness. Well, you're in the wilderness because you're in the wilderness because God got to condition you and kill that flesh out of your own willpower, right? Your own anxiety, your own triggers, etc., etc. So what better thing to throw you in the wilderness? Because you can't even do nothing if you wanted to in the wilderness. He's conditioning you. Then he comes back and gets you like he said he would. And listen, and when you come back and get you, honey, you'll be asking God to please slow down because it's full force, right? And then you might get hit again. Back to the wilderness. What I do now? Right? You're going back to the wilderness because either you're still getting ahead of God, right? Because it might be another pit stop along the way. And because you can really see it now, right? You're like, come on, God, please come on. You're going back to the wilderness because, so it's an ongoing process. Now you see how we ourselves can delay our own process because it's us. We keep getting ahead of God, right? We keep missing certain things. We keep getting unplugged, getting back plugged, it's a whole zoo. But to those of you, you wasn't perfect. You ain't that cute, boo. Or you had your struggles. Or you had to repent probably 30 times in one day, but you didn't give up. The shift is here. Oh, it's here. You would have to be under a rock. It's here. But God never said it would be easy. So if you think the times you were in seasons of delays or seasons of this, if you think those times were difficult, be in this time right now, because it calls for a measure of, you talking about tunnel vision, to the point that if you're on daddy's say, if you can't do this, that, and this, and that, I'm going to disown you. Sir, you're going to have to disown me. I'll make it up to you. You're going to have to disown me, sir. Because, woo, I can't miss it right now. But you will understand sooner than later. I wanted to share that. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.